Welcome to this week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. I'm so glad you're here with us this week. I hope it's not terribly snowy where you are. I'm in the south and we've gotten enough snow to kind of shut us down for a while. But this week we have authors Sandra Sookoo, USA Today bestselling author Sandra Sookoo, Erin Johnson, and Rachel Ann Smith. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Hey, Sandra, can we start with your book? You have the Sting of a Storm. It's the fourth book in the Storm Brothers series.
That's right. And what's happening now is the Storm Brothers are three brothers that started out the series, and then we expanded the series, so now we're dealing with cousins. So William's the first of the cousins, and he is a Bow Street runner, which, you know, they don't like to be called runners. He's an inspector, which was an early detective. That's what he does. So right now he's chasing down what he thinks is a serial killer through London. And yeah. And the heroine that he's with is a budding journalist. So she's really naggy and nosy and kind of a pain in the butt. But together they are going to solve this crime.
Cool. So it is a historical romance. I know this week we've got historical mysteries.
Oh,
too.
definitely.
This is a historical romance with mystery elements.
Right, definitely. Right, and this one ended up being differently formatted than the other three because William's different. I mean, he's a detective, so why wouldn't I throw in, a mystery for him to solve?
The videos, we have a video trailer for it up on the Dragonblade TikTok channel. So if you're on TikTok and you haven't joined already, we're at Dragonblade Pub.
Yeah, I don't do TikTok right now.
No, it's really, I end up watching like half-clad men thatch houses.
I just don't have time. I spend a lot of time writing, so I don't have time to deal with another social media outlet.
But for those of you who are watching, if you are on TikTok and want to join us, we'd love to have you follow. And I know for Sandra's video, there's weapons in that one. Like it's always kind of scary. I got it. It's like, okay, this is different.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. So I was really pleased with how it turned out. So I really hope that people enjoy it. I mean, early reviews are really good about it. Good mystery, lots of red herrings. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it when you can follow a family too.
Oh, yeah.
You have this kind of built-in world of people that you're already connected to.
And it's really fun, too, because when I ask readers which brother is your favorite, the answers are all varied. Everybody has their own favorite guy, so that's always fun.
Cool. Erin, your book came out next this week, and you are the historical mystery, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's exciting.
And
just
the
to warn you
Strangled Servant?
That is correct. I've got a cat on me that's purring really loudly, so forgive me if there's random purring going on in the background. Sorry about that.
We want my random purring, especially if we get to see the cat.
Yeah, we want to see the cat.
Can you see the cat? Oh, yeah, can
you look she's so dark.
She's there. She's black. She's a rescue cat. She's really sweet, and she's been on my lap all afternoon. So sorry about that. If you see a random tail, it's Arya the cat. But yes, so let's see. The Strangled Servant. It's really cool. It's like a historical mystery set in the late Georgian era. It stars a really smart young woman in her late teens who's of marriageable age, but she doesn't fit within society's standards of like physical beauty. And so all around her, it's like my own personal Elizabeth Bennet, where she's not stupidly pretty like Keira Knightley or some of these other actresses. She's just smart and she knows it. And she has, the fight of all fights with her best friend, who is everything that Poppy is not. Poppy is shy. She's a little bit like timid, but she's really smart. Her best friend Mary is loud and like in your face and vivacious. And they have the fight of all fights at the assembly rooms, pretty much in front of the entire town. And it's like, oh God, everyone sees it. And Poppy pushes Mary through a window because she loses her cookies. Like she loses her composure. This sweet, innocent young woman just loses it, right? And so, and it all happens in my head. Amazing. And so like the next day, like Poppy's freaking out thinking, oh God, I've like, ruined my best friend's relationship. It's horrible. And there's some subtle romantic tension stuff going on, but I won't get into that. You'll have to read the book. But on that next morning, Poppy is interrupted by a handsome constable banging on her door, being like, look, so there's been a carriage accident on the main road, and there's a woman's body that's been found, and she's dead. Now, this comes right after the entire town witnessed Poppy's fight with Mary. And so there's only one suspect, and it's Poppy. And there's only one body, and they think it's Mary. So, yes, chapter 1, go. So that's the book.
That sounds like so much fun. And also slightly terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I play around with the idea of frenemies. And what do you do if you have a young woman who, like, she only has these relationships with people that are kind of horrible? Like, she's really sweet and she's our heroine and she's smart. She's not stereotypically beautiful. So she's got to find her own path, like, so many of us do. And yeah, her best friend is kind of a frenemy. Like, she's kind of a mean girl. So there's that. And I said it in the town that I live in, which is Hartford. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's nice. So that's me. That's my book. Buy it now.
It's the first book in the Perfect Poison Murders.
Yes.
So do the other books follow the same characters, or are they different characters in the same setting?
Yes. So this first book was meant to be kind of to introduce readers into that world of historical mystery with some subtle romantic tensions in there. So it's all about Poppy growing into her own as a young woman, but, solving crime alongside of the very handsome and questionable Constable Henry Dingley, who is based off of a real person. So fun fact. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I'm from Boston, but I came over to the UK in 2007 to study medieval history. And I studied at UCL, which was like studying at Hogwarts. It was amazing. I studied medieval magic. It was really cool. But during that time, I got to study medieval manuscripts in the British Library. And it was so cool to read the handwriting of someone written 500 years ago. Like, how awesome is that? To literally turn the pages. It's incredible. And in a manuscript that I studied, it was full of these medical remedies written by a Henry Dingley. And I thought, well, that's a cool name. So I knew nothing about this person. I created a whole persona. I just took the name.
You just stole the name.
I did. So
that's a very favorite pastime for me too.
Oh, really?
Name thievery.
Awesome. So, yeah, that's my hero. I thought, how cool would that be?
Yeah, so
cool.
So Rachel, your book is an Earl Unmasked.
Yes, it is.
Also, book 1 is the Ladies of Risk. Is that right?
It is the first book of my new series with Dragonblade. So this is kind of ventures out, because normally I write about Regency spies and things like that. But this one's just a heartfelt Regency. But my characters are very much the same spry, spunky heroine and a disgruntled hero. So yeah, it's I think it's a little tamer than my other books, not as steamy, but it's still got some spice to it. So
yeah, there's a lot to love about lighthearted, spunky heroines, especially right now. I think it's like it's good to have something that gives your brain a little bit of a not a rest, but a nice place to hang out for a while. I think when everything's a little bit harder than normal.
Hopefully it brings a few giggles as well. So
those are the best. Those are the very best. So it's the first book in the series. Are we following a family, or is it
family
characters? Okay.
Yes. So the 3 books is all based on the 3 sisters, the Malberry sisters, and it goes in reverse order. We'll start with Diana, who's the youngest, and then we'll go to Isidore, who's the middle, and then we'll figure out what Roberta's doing, because I haven't got there yet, but we'll get there. So, and then she's the oldest, but of course, she's the most stubborn character. And because I am a pantser, I have no idea, to be honest. I just know that they are the one. That's kind of the order that they wanted to have their books written.
So what is the family like? Is it just the sisters?
No, they have the oldest brother, Benedict, who actually appeared in my short story in the Star of Light Christmas novella. And he had his HEA in that. And then we have Gregory, who's the second son, and he is a physician. He also appears in the book. Then we have Maverna, then we have Isadora, then we have Diana, and then we have the baby Paul. But the boys, they don't
need their own stories.
What they're up to. So far they don't get their own books.
I like to focus on the girls anyway, so that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, awesome. This is a great lineup we have this week. Ladies, I wondered if you could tell me a little bit. I know, Erin, you were talking about studying medieval history. Could you talk a little bit about the research that you do for your books, or anything that is anything that's caught you that was particularly interesting? I know, Erin, you when you were name stealing, you found a character. Is there anything else that you guys have come across that's been, just unexpected and a rabbit hole that you didn't realize you were going down until you were there?
Mm-hmm. A little bit. I can start answering this question. So I know that I think there's an element of historical research in any historical period book that you write. There's always a slight element of what were people wearing back then? What did they eat? What time did they get up? What would someone do to pass the time? What were the occupations of the day? I found that when I was doing a bit of medieval research, I found a medieval remedy to tell if a girl was a virgin. And that led me down a whole medieval mystery novel a few years ago that never reached publication, but it's there, So it's stuff like that, where it's diving into historical resources and finding the little gems and being like, oh my gosh, put that in a novel, a virginity test. My God, that's incredible. For the book that I'm editing right now, the second in the Poison Pen series, Perfect Poison series, I always get it wrong. I'm looking into baking and figuring out what things were around at that time period. For instance, 3-tiered baking cake trays, the 3-leveled ones, they weren't around during my year, so I can't use them. But at the same time, you could have someone say the word fiddlesticks, because that phrase dates to 1605. So, it's really cool to figure out what were people saying back then and what was and wasn't around. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, even as simple as figuring out how people got dressed.
Yeah.
The layers and the garments. Another thing I follow on TikTok is
oh no, it reaches
historical costuming, and you get to see everybody put their chemises on and all their layers on top of it, and everything else on top of it. It's when you think about what it would be like to move through your day with all of those different parts, as a writer, you'd have to hold on to all of that when you're working with your character through different scenarios and stuff, because it's not our jeans and t-shirts. So Sandra, have you come across anything in particular
for this book?
Or any book. I know that you've written.
I thought it was interesting to figure out, to find out that there were tests back then that midwives performed to make sure a woman was definitely pregnant. That was an eye opener for me, and kind of odd. And I'm so glad that they don't do that now, because that's weird. Weird and disturbing. Let's say it's disturbing.
We got virginity test and pregnancy test. This conversation is going in the direction I do not.
I think that part of that made it into this book. I'm not sure, because I wrote them concurrently, so it all has blended together, and I've moved on from that series now, so it's been a while. Another thing was, having to deal with crime in London before there was actual detective squad or the Metropolitan Police at the time. It was just literally a free-for-all. I don't know, do you want to investigate? I don't know, do you want to do it? I don't know. Who's going to take responsibility for that? So I kind of really had to wing it. So it was just all interesting, and that's why I kind of like when we finally move on to the Victorian period, because everything is in nice little tidy boxes. Everybody's got their jobs and they're all defined, and but the Regency was they're kind of trying to figure it out, So you kind of have to wing it, sort of.
That makes sense. Rachel, you said that this is
a coin.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't really defined roles, but they did things for coin, for money, right? So everything was really more driven by how much do they have in their coffers? And if they didn't have very much, the second sons often had to go out there and figure out how to make it work. And I love the Regency period for that, because they can wing it. And so I think it gives me a lot more freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is totally probable. And then the Victorian, though, has so many. I just love the fashion of the Victorian.
The clothes are way better. Mm-hmm.
So much better.
So much better. And it gives you a little more wiggle room when you play around with a Victorian, because there were inventions and a railroad and, other things that were better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You don't have to, when we write in the Regency period, we all gloss over the kind of more gross aspects of life,
Hygiene.
We're writing romance after all, and nobody wants to hear about the real stuff. Which though I am curious sometimes about how they dealt with like period cramps, or like if you're having a majorly bad headache day, or if you just are real salty about stuff, how did you deal with that? And
not by pushing your best friend through a window. I would not recommend that part.
Wouldn't recommend it. Don't try this at home.
Well, at least we all have been there,
Don't do it. We don't push our friends. Awesome. So, Rachel, you said already that you're a pantser.
I am. I'm 100% a pantser. I have tried many times to plot or even have a snowflake, all the different types of plotting. And I honestly, it's just a waste of time for me. I've given up. So now I sit there with my blank. I don't use any fancy software. I bring up a blank Word document and I sit there and I wait for the characters to appear. Some days they don't want to work. And my development editor is like, you channel your characters, and I'm like, that makes me sound really a little unstable. But it's true. Like literally, I write dialogue first. They come in and they tell me what they want to say, and then I go back and I have to go through it again and put in all the color and the internal thoughts, and half the time I have talking heads and I don't know where they are. Like, are you in a drawing room? Are you in a study? Where are you? And I literally am begging half the time for them to tell me, to give me the details. But it eventually gets there.
So you get your characters before you get anything else. Then.
Yes, totally. It's like they each have a very distinct voice, which I can't describe very well. But like in my head, it's like kind of like, there are two types of people, right? When you read, like you have the readers that hear voices and really follow the story, and others people that just read the words.
Yeah,
I'm very much so like just hearing the words and picturing the scene when they present it to me. So my partner is not like that. He is a plotter, and so it's very interesting to find. It's interesting to hear how she develops her stories versus how mine come about. But at the end of the day, it's all fun.
Yeah, and I think your process is your process, and trying to fight against it because you read something that this is more efficient, or this is I haven't found that ever to be as effective as you would like for it to be. I think your brain has a way of working, and there's something about the story tickling you that I think makes the books more interesting. When the writer is engaged and interested and fascinated by the book, then I think that makes the books more interesting too, which falls into the book you want to read idea. Just like, if I'm going to spend time there, I would like to spend time somewhere I want to be. So awesome.
I'm very slow at writing, so because I have to spend so much time and just
sitting and waiting.
ghostwriting. But I am taking Becca Slime's course this year, so I'm hopefully going to improve my productivity.
Well, that's a lovely one too, because that plays to your already existing strengths.
Yes.
So instead of having to reinvent or force yourself into a different way of doing it, it just kind of amplifies the way that you naturally work. So I think it's a really good one. So Erin, do you plot or pants? I saw you clapping, so I'm assuming that it's pantsing as well.
Uh-huh. So I'm actually a mix. When I first started out, I was completely pantsing the entire way through. And now that I've got like deadlines, I realize, okay, right, I have to make sure I meet those. Okay. And so I start off as like pantsing, and I have a very loose outline. Just to keep me on track, but like that ends up on a board of sticky notes on the floor that I constantly rearrange. And I find that if I outline too much, that takes away some of the fun of the creativity. And so I go back to the blank page. So there's pantsing again involved. And so it's just a mix. Like I'll try and keep to, a formula. If I reach a point where I'm like, oh, I'm kind of stuck, I don't know what to say now. What am I doing again? What am I writing? I'll go back to my little loose outline and sticky notes and be like, oh, right, I want to have this happen then. Right, okay. So I guess that leads to a question like, ladies, do we all write in one direction? Do you write the story as it happens, or do you go all over the place? Because I try and write.
I'm not an all over the place girl. I'm a linear writer.
Linear.
Yeah.
Do not move ahead. Do not move backward.
Do not pass go.
There's the process.
Yeah, I have a writing partner who writes scenes all over the place, and then she stitches them together, and I can't. I can't.
That's too much.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because like, what if you forget and have details that you thought you knew that you hadn't introduced yet? And oh God, I'm editing a novel right now, and it's really tricky.
Do you have touch points throughout the story? I know, Rachel, you said you get your characters first. Sandra, do you get your characters first or your plot first, or do you have touch points throughout the story?
It really depends. If I'm doing mystery writing or romantic suspense, the plot always comes first. If I'm doing straight romance, the characters always come first. And I outline. So I do detailed outlines and, plot the book, move forward. It cuts down on edits, I got to tell you. I mean, I'm glad that you guys are pantsters, but that doesn't work for me. I detest rewrites. I detest long editing sessions. So by the time I get to my actual writing, it's the third draft for me. So, I know what's going on. I know who's the players, what they want, everything. I mean, there's still room for spontaneity, sure, but I just do not like to do cleanup on the back end. So this prevents all of that. I've got too much going on in my schedule for that kind of stuff. So
Emily Murdoch writes the same way, I think.
You write so fast, Sandra. You're like everything involved, how much you can
outline is for. I mean, the glory of the outline, and I've taught classes, and I actually have a class tonight that I'm teaching to a writing group. The glory of the outline is this. You're going to know your characters from the inside out. And you always have that to refer back to. Let's just say you had to go to the hospital for a week or so. You can always pick up your outline when you come back and know exactly where you are in the story and what you were doing. It's right there in front of you. So you don't have to sit there for 5 hours and say, oh, where was I? I don't know what I was doing. I had to read, but it's right there for you.
There's something about knowing characters too.
The thing about it is if you're not an outliner or a planner, you're never going to be that person, Everybody's all like, can you teach me how to do this? I'm like, well, I can if you're that kind of a person, but if you're not that kind of a person, it's not going to work.
It's not going to stick. Yeah, there's something about knowing your characters though, because then you know how they're going to act in a situation. At least you have something to draw on from.
So that flows right in with my outline. So, and when you know your characters ahead of time, you know exactly how they're going to act within a different scene. You're going to know why they react to that, because it's always going to come back to, what are they afraid of? What do they want? All this stuff. So
I think ages ago, I think MJ Rose talked about, and I mean ages ago, like decades ago, talked about putting together a box for her characters and like collecting little things, little pictures and little things that she thought connected to her heroine in particular is what she was talking about at the time. And I love the idea of that almost building a history for your character so that you know, because it's the same thing that we were talking about with costumes. Knowing how you're moving through a room based on what you're wearing is like knowing how you're moving through a situation based on who you're
I mean,
writing.
it's true, and they'll throw crap at me sometimes that I had no idea. I'm like, really? You're just now sharing this with me? I didn't know that. Now I gotta go redo my outline in some places. Thanks for that, But
So
you know,
they're
it
all
makes it
talking
better, and
to
it's
you.
fine. I mean, that's the glory of an outline. You can you can fix it as you go along. You fix the outline so you don't have to fix the book later.
Unruly characters talking in people's heads all the time.
I will admit that I spend a lot of time in the editing cave, so
See?
it is not a
I can
very
fix
pleasant
that
place.
for
It's very
you.
dark and lonely.
But I think some people like that part too. I think there's some authors that hate editing with a passion, and then I think there's some that like it. And
Oh,
I
I
also
don't hate it. It's just I've learned to remove that from my list of things to do. I mean, back in the day when I first started, sure, editing was a huge thing, because that's how we learn. That's how you learn to fill in your books. I always say that when I do editing for people, most of the manuscripts that I receive are like a skeleton. I'm presented with a skeleton of a human form, and what my job is to tell the writers, hey, you need to put muscles on the skeleton. You need to put nerve endings and stuff.
and
So you need to
skin
add
too.
emotional
Skin
drive.
is
You need to add
important.
detail work. You need to add all this stuff so that we can build a book.
That makes sense.
I'm really passionate about editing. So
I know that there are more books in all three of the series for Dragonblade. Is there anything you guys are particularly excited that you're working on right now? Anything that's tickling you that's got your writer brains working?
I am literally in editing cave for book 2. I just finished the end, and so now I've got to go back and put on the muscles and the nerve endings.
Do you give yourself
literally Isadora and Tom are in my head, and I cannot they will not leave me alone right now. So I love them to death, but and then I have Minerva and Drake in the background saying, hurry up, write faster. Please do something. But I'm really just excited to get these out for Dragonblade this year.
Yeah. Well, we're anxious to see them. I love when new series starts. I love when I get the first book across my desk and I get to see what the cover looks like in the setup and everything. I love new series. So, Erin, what about you? Is there anything that you're particularly interested in right now that you're working on?
Like Rachel Ann, I'm stuck in the editing of book 2 for the series, but I'm going back and realizing that I write really obnoxious characters. I'm rooting for it. Honestly, oh man, the murder victim, he's just so annoying. And so when you
now you know why he's the victim.
Exactly. But it's you're editing and I'm on version 3 of this draft that I'm editing right now. And you just go back over the story again and again. And so you're reliving these experiences with these characters again and again. You're like, oh God, you're annoying. Jeez, I can't wait till you die. Come on. So yeah, even though it's a fictional character, it's just and that, introducing other characters that are, antagonists to your protagonist. And it's yeah. So yeah, it's fun to deal with all these obnoxious people. Yeah, it's quite fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'd like to see Erin's Google recent search.
I know, right? It's how to kill people in a book. No, I don't know.
We just always hope that never ever becomes public.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't ever want to have to explain that. Sandra, I know you work on multiple series at a time, don't you?
I got a lot going on. Right now I'm working on books for my Colors of Scandal series. It's an indie published series because I'm wrapping that up this year. But my next book, I think after this one, is the second book in another series for Dragonblade that I'm doing. Those are older characters that have, been beaten around by life, and they're having romance again, while they're older, which,
they know some stuff.
Reviews because some people out there think that people didn't live past 30 in the Regency. And I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that at all. But, and then they're like, oh, they're too old. They can't have a romance. I'm like, what are we all just supposed to sit at home once we get 30 and wait for death? I mean, come on.
Not too old. We're too old for romance.
So, I mean, I like it because, you don't have to have the pressures or whatever of having kids, you don't have all this stuff. So they're out there, finding that, oh, hey man, I can actually live life after I've already, had a family, or I've already done this or whatever. So
met your societal expectations and such.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that's fun. That's what I'm doing. And who knows what the future will hold. Will I do, because I plan out my future for 2 years at a time, but
How far out do you plan, Sandra?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, I've got this series that I'm launching. I'm launching a new series later on this year, the romantic suspense, which I'm really excited about, with jewel heists. So I'm really excited because
cool.
I set up series for like 2 years or 3 years, and I can't get to these ideas because my schedule is so full. I'm not one to say, oh, I'm going to clear my decks and work on this. I can't do that because you have a responsibility to these characters, and you have to finish things up. But next year, I'm getting ready to launch a new series that I'm really excited about. I can't talk about that right now because, I need something.
We'll just keep watching.
So, yeah, I mean, I do plan out for 2 years just because I have to know where I'm going. And, I don't like to just sit there and say, okay, well, what am I going to do today? I can't. I need to know.
I think there's quite a few Dragonblade authors that do
planning work, on the other end, especially if you're not working with a publisher. You need to plan out, I need this cover, I need to go do this, I need to do this, that kind of thing.
I know when Sean was, because Dragonblade sent planners to our authors this year. And I know when Sean was planning them out, she was like, I have to get the undated ones because there's so many people that work, that work 2 years ahead, or that work a year and a half ahead. And need the flexibility of being able to date things the way they want to. So
it's a brilliant planner, though. It's brilliant.
It's lovely. It's so nice.
I'm so glad you liked it. She did such a good job with that.
Yeah,
I was tickled. I got one too. I wasn't expecting it. I got it.
Yay! Nice. Yay!
So
What do you plan out? I'm just curious. Do you plan, Erin?
A little bit. I mean, I've opened the planner. I've never really been a planner person, but I'm going to try. Now that I've got it, I'm going to make the attempt, I'm going to actually make an effort to use it because it was a gift. So it's so nice. So yeah, I'm going to try, but I don't know about you. I literally was just giving a presentation at work right before this, and my normal day-to-day planning is loads of sticky notes, or loads of just notes on a pen and paper. And then, I just turn the page as it goes on, and then I recycle the pages when I'm done. But yeah, that's my way of planning.
I've wondered about those remarkable tablets because I do the same thing. I keep a notebook beside my desk, and I do it because I need to write things down to remember them, not because I need the notes afterwards. I almost never go back and refer to what I've written. I just need to have I need that connection when I do it, and so I'm wasting all these spiral bound notebooks.
No, it's a serious issue because you're a lot of times you've got your planning notebook, and you've got this other one over here. And all this stuff I have to remember doesn't have anything to do with this. And especially if you're trying to do a production schedule, I mean, you've got a lot of moving parts. That's what I found the most challenging when you're a hybrid author. You're responsible for a heck of a lot of things, So your dates on your planner become gold, and you have to be on top of that every moment of every day. So yeah, planning.
Rachel, what about you? Are you a planner?
I don't know if I can show you, but I do.
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
So
I missed a number to put sticky notes behind me. Oh my god!
But tiny wall calendars, they're working.
Though I'm hybrid, so I do have to manage my indie stuff, and I write both contemporary and historical. So if I didn't, I would be in.
For real, you have to remember all these dates. When does this book go to the editor? When does this book go to the proofer? When does this have to be uploaded? When do you need to buy promo for all this stuff? I mean, it's a huge thing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Ladies, we have gone past our time. I'm so we didn't even get to talk about the board game.
I know. There's a lot.
Which I was tickled about. Like Erin's got a whole wall of board games behind her, and I don't recognize hardly any of them.
Ooh. There's a lot. They're all real. Sometimes people think they're a background, and no, they're all real. Like, honestly, yeah, they're all real. I figure it's better for people to look at them than look at me, because I get really nervous public speaking. So
Same.
look at the games. It's fine. It's great.
I think everybody does, and then you hit a certain age, and it's like nobody's paying as much attention to me as I am to me. So it doesn't matter quite as much anymore. But ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna pop for those of you who are listening, I'm going to pop the links in the comments so you can find the links to the books. If you don't have them already, you need to get them now. Dragonblade books are a super great deal all the time, but they are a super, super, super great deal on release, a pre-order and release. So you want to make sure you grab them while you can. So I'll make sure the links are where you can find them, and we'll be back next week to talk again. If you are on TikTok and you are not watching the partially clad thatched guys, which you really should, because why wouldn't you?
You should go on there. It's so much fun.
You should come find us. We're Dragonblade. We're Dragonblade Pub, and we're doing book trailers right now, but we're gonna start to do interactive things with our authors. So if you're on TikTok, you're gonna follow us, because there will be good stuff there to see.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks again, ladies. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and we will see everybody else same time next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.